Alrighty, beautiful and strong people, welcome back to lesson 6 of the deadlift mastery. Today we're going to talk about the foot root. Power starts from the ground up. If you've been going through the squat section, the squat module, you already know how important rooting your foot really is to creating stability. Pretty much the same happens in here because we tend to think about the deadlift more so as a pull, and it's actually called a pull. But in all honesty, the deadlift is more so a pull and a push. Okay, so we have two contact points in there. We have the barbell. We're connecting with the barbell through the slack pull, which is going to be the next lesson. And we also have that contact point with the ground, because after all, our anchor point itself is the ground. So what we're quite literally doing during the deadlift is to actually connect the bar with us, make the bar become one with us, and press against the ground, just like doing a leg press. That's the kind of mindset we need to have. But in order to actually be able to press against the ground in such a manner, we need to make sure that our feet are rooted to the ground. And that's where, getting back to the tripod foot principle, 3 points of contact: heel, base of big toe, base of pinky toe. Again, this is absolutely fundamental. When you're having even pressure, you're having a strong pull. It prevents collapsing inward or rolling outward, which makes your knees be in a stacked line over your ankles. You can actually generate force over, if you're doing sumo. It makes the transfer of force from the ground to the knees, to the hips, and pretty much to the spine, finishing up tall. So it's absolutely paramount to make sure that your feet are actually rooted. Now, the image that I actually have in here is more so related to the, let's say, the femur length. Okay, pretty much how your body is actually built, and the torso length. What I want to actually present in here is actually the shin angles and midfoot balance. Okay, again, shin should stay close to vertical, and it should always be stacked within the midfoot. Okay, if it's too far forward, the bar will shift towards your toes. So let's say you end up squatting the deadlift a little bit more than it's actually necessary. The body here is actually lined up in your midfoot. But we're going to try and think about it a little bit differently, because, let's say that this person doesn't really have a short femur, but more so a long femur. Okay, the bar will actually end up more so towards the toes. The center of mass moves opposite. So the center of mass is going to be more so towards your heels. Okay, and what happens when you're actually trying to do that? You're having more of that load on your heels. Your toes will actually lift. It's going to be harder to actually finish off the deadlift and pretty much break the floor. Your hips will pop up first, okay, because after all, you don't really have the leverage with your hips, and you're going to, just like in the squat, you're going to pretty much good morning the deadlift to some degree. On the opposite spectrum, if it's too vertical, so you're almost, pushing the knees too far back, the hips are going to be too high. Okay, and because of that, most of the weight, okay, the center of mass will shift towards your toes. So your heel might actually elevate a little bit. So it's a lot harder to actually pull from that kind of leverage. So again, the shin should be and should stay close to vertical, and the bar should always stack over midfoot to make sure that you have the most efficiency when you're actually pulling. Now, when it comes to rooting the feet on the convention and on the sumo, on the conventional, we want to make sure that we're having our feet shoulder width with a slight toe flare. In some cases, keeping it straight is also a good idea. With the sumo, we're going to go a little bit wider, okay? But just making sure that we're having, to some degree, some connection with our foot root. If we're going either too wide or too narrow, okay, if we're going too wide, we're going to be stronger off the floor, but we're not really going to connect with the foot root. Okay, so that's why, the lockout is going to be a little bit harder. When we're going narrower, we're going to be weaker off the floor, but we're going to have a stronger lockout, and it's a little bit easier to actually connect with your root. Okay, so as performance point, of course, push against the ground, avoid yanking the bar. The deadlift is not a yank. It's actually building tension against the barbell and the ground, and just generating force against the ground. Root feet before pulling slack, so you want to make sure that you're firmly rooted to the ground before you're initiating the slack. because after all, you're actually pulling yourself away from the bar. With the sumo, make sure that you're having the shin, to femur close to somewhere around 90 degrees for optimal force. And again, don't go unnecessarily wide. Find balance for leverage. In summary, this is another one that's, short and sweet. Power starts at the ground. Don't forget about the tripod foot. That's where your balance and stability is. Try and have your shins close to vertical and bar stacked over midfoot. That's how you break the barbell off the floor. See you on the next one, where we're going to talk a little bit more about the slack pull.